Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We're going to talk about Indigenous peoples and local communities, their leadership, engagement, especially in landscape restoration across Africa and beyond. We're going to provide some examples, great examples that we have from the dedicated grant mechanism. So thank you so much for joining. So let me introduce myself, please. You can remove the slides. Hi, my name is Miriam. I am a natural resource management specialist at the World Bank, and I'm going to moderate today's session. We have a lot of speakers from all over the world, and particularly all over Africa. So we're very excited to see you all here. So let me just provide a few updates and checkpoints before we start. So you can interact in the chat. Please post any questions, any comments that you have. We'll address them all during the session at the Q&A, which will be the last after all the speakers share their experiences. You can right now also post your name and the country you're coming from, so we can start the interaction a little bit and get to know each other a little bit better. There is also a French translation, just to let you know that some of the speakers will speak in French, some others will speak in English. The whole session will be primarily in English. So please do listen to the simultaneous translation if needed. And I would like to start. So I hope that we have our practice manager, Maria Saraf, here. So let me introduce herself very quick before she starts.
Hi, good morning, Miriam. Do you want me only to introduce myself or to...
I'm happy to do it. I'm just waiting for Debbie to, yes. Perfect. Thank you so much, Maria, for joining. So Maria Saraf, she's the practice manager for the environment, natural resources, and the blue economy in West Africa at the World Bank. She's a Lebanese national. She has a long-standing operational experience in environmental management, leading operations in air and water pollution, waste management, and a lot more. She also held various positions in South Asia and Middle East and North Africa, and now in West Africa. So Maria, please, you can start.
Absolutely. Do you see me or do you see my picture?
We'll see you in a moment. Yes, we see you.
You see me. Okay, fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Miriam. So it's really a pleasure for me to welcome all the participants who joined today's event on the leadership and engagement of Indigenous people and local community in landscape restoration. In today's event, we're going to showcase a few concrete examples from the dedicated grant mechanism, also known by all of you as DGM. The World Bank, as you know, has been working with Indigenous people and local community for more than 20 years across all regions to improve their economic growth and livelihood and to promote culturally appropriate conservation and development methods. The World Bank continues to deepen its understanding of Indigenous people priority and needs through direct dialogue with locally led organizations, but also through various studies and through the implementation of projects. One of the examples of our work is obviously through the DGM, which has been instrumental in protecting the right of Indigenous people and local communities. Not only DGM projects improve rural livelihood, they also help adapt to the impact of climate change. And this is particularly important given that a warming climate really poses a threat to our economy, our ecology, and to the future of millions of people, particularly Indigenous people. In Africa, we work in 6 countries. The Democratic Republic of Congo, Mozambique, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Burkina Faso, and the Republic of Congo. In these 6 countries, DGM projects are strengthening Indigenous people and local communities' voice on land and forest policies and building their capacity to participate in forest and land management activities. The DGM holds by now a wealth of learning on how to work with Indigenous people. And it's important that this knowledge is shared. It's also important that we include this knowledge in all World Bank projects, not only DGM projects. This work you're all doing is really close to my heart, and I really look forward to hearing how we can work even closer with Indigenous people in the Africa region. We all need to redouble our effort and work closer than ever to support the aspiration of local communities in every corner of the world. So thank you all for joining today, and we'll look forward to today's session. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Maria. This is great and amazing. I'm very happy that to see you here as you're leading a lot of operations in at the World Bank for the DGM in Africa. So just to give a little bit of sense for everyone here, for the whole audience, let's watch a very quick video on what the DGM is, so everyone can understand a little bit better what the program is about, how we work there in the field at the global and regional levels. So yeah, please, we can start the animated video now.
Climate change is the defining challenge of our time, and forests offer a natural solution by removing carbon from the atmosphere. Indigenous peoples and local communities manage much of the world's forested land, making them key players in global efforts to combat climate change. Created and led by members of these communities, the dedicated grant mechanism, DGM, supports their roles in sustainable forest management at all levels of decision-making. For example, in Burkina Faso, women from local communities use DGM support to improve their production and marketing of non-timber forest products, such as sambala, a popular West African condiment. This increases revenue and encourages continued forest protection. Indigenous federations in Peru seek legal recognition, land titling, and food security of native communities, strengthening their traditional management of land and addressing drivers of deforestation in Amazonia. Communities in Indonesia are developing essential skills to secure land tenure, promote sustainable livelihoods, and engage in policy making related to deforestation and landscape management. Indigenous peoples and local communities are also coming together at regional and global levels to share their expertise, develop skills, and become more effective leaders in climate action. The world needs forests, and forests need Indigenous peoples and local communities. Learn more at dgmglobal.org.
We are back. I really hope you enjoyed the video and you were able to understand a little bit how the DGM works. So I would like to start with our incredible speakers that we have today. So the first one we're gonna have is Diallo Khadija. She's the president of Alavalu, Burkina Faso. She's from Burkina Faso. And Alavalu, she is the president of Alavalu, which is a dairy processing cooperative in Sapui, Burkina Faso. She is leading and producing milk and gapal, along with other 60 women members of the cooperative. She is also a recipient of the DGM sub-grant in Burkina Faso. And I personally met her a few years ago, and I was astonished by all the work that they do in the cooperative. So Diallo, please join and share with us all the experience that you have with the DGM, how you lead the sub projects, the Alavalu itself. What do you do there? What are the challenges and also opportunities?
Ya sira hanya ti Allah wallo ya wunna songa ti songa taba Allah wallo aratin yela meti to wunna songa da ti songa taba la ya sira runa ton be kanwa ton manda transformation de lait ni savon aga tin wa kin ro po pa man transformer ton han nan cheng bang ro me avant ti ton cheng bang ro ton de ngade pe kada wa mati ya yilamde talla waki ton salla pokon yaha ton hantan ki ha bien immédiatement ton kère dalam ton tan derla beta ta wala 15 minutes 10 minutes ti ton liban sika ta mare hanna mar mo ha haya bihna la ton dat man conserver ti ne ba renyen la ton han dat liban liman wala yaoura donc hanna gus mo ha en ce moment la ton liban don ten dikka men liban man gapal ton talla da ton tara bitigra on ton han sekane man transformation sekane ton tara bon moto sereta immédiatement ton ukra fan sa moto sereta pour zoena tato ti 30 minutes pa man tin nga frigo ramba pour ta pa man wakar kanga hana ma ton délivrer da men kon ton client ya sida bala pinda parba da tara julesi bala jules bu nga braka tar tumen tum ton manu to parba reer da taba ni ka fa chaque 3 jours so mun tuma rahma taba han rar fa nan siga tara bu nan tale 15 honda zenda wallahi bam men wilgi da nitum sunle no bala tara songore bu so bala man day la nyamba vente groupe pam financement wa ton da cheikh da tab halti anongo ton ha yeti ton na bilga ton suno ganti tekzini nga ton na ngoma ne sa bala tala nafa wuso mtem bilg ton ale yi sabab me le wilg parba ti bra le samwe ray wala handa pinda kangara hambe woto ti bra kala fa mandat donc tun hun sohni taba parmin ka sakri ikanin ti keraw yaha un kutia bala banga mi titara nafa.
Quand vous parlez donc d'approche transformationnelle, ça fait appel donc beaucoup d'acteurs, beaucoup de secteurs. C'est ce qui fait que toutes nos interventions, vous allez voir, se font de manière intégrée en tenant compte donc des autres secteurs en dehors de l'environnement. Pour arriver donc à la transformation des mentalités, travaillons beaucoup plus en synergie avec tous les secteurs d'activité du pays et beaucoup plus au niveau des communautés. Nous intégrons donc à l'échelle de la communauté tous ceux qui utilisent la forêt et même ceux qui sont en dehors de la forêt. Parce que chacun peut avoir une action qui peut impacter négativement ou positivement la forêt.
Diallo, the floor is yours. I think you're muted. Please unmute yourself and turn on the video.
Allô?
Hello. Please
Oui,
go ahead.
bon. Elle peut parler? Chicago?
Oui, oui, s'il vous plaît.
OK. Alors, de mettre la vidéo?
Donc, je salue Mérina et je salue tous ses compagnons qui sont en Washington. Vraiment, je vous remercie beaucoup d'avoir m'invité ici pour venir échanger avec vous. Mais on vous remercie encore, on remercie la Banque mondiale, on remercie la PPN Burkina, DGM Burkina, on les remercie beaucoup. Parce que grâce à vous, aujourd'hui, on est devenus des gens formidables et forts et représentants. Mais c'est grâce à le projet. Parce qu'avant qu'on gagne le projet, on souffrait beaucoup. On avait créé le groupement et on s'est débrouillé un peu. Parce qu'on n'avait même pas un coin pour aller échanger avec les femmes, causer avec les femmes. C'est moi qu'on causait ensemble. Donc, en ce moment, on avait beaucoup de problèmes. Avant qu'on gagne le financement, on avait beaucoup de problèmes. Parce qu'on n'avait rien, on ne pouvait pas transformer quelque chose. Mais après, les femmes souffraient pour avoir de l'eau, pour faire une transformation. Il faut partir au moins 2 km, 3 km pour trouver l'eau, pour venir faire leur transformation. Mais depuis qu'on a eu le projet, on s'est tout en sorti. grâce à vous, grâce à le projet. C'est un jour, on s'est assis, on a quitté la radio, on dit qu'il y a un projet qui vient, mais chacun peut faire ses demandes, aller. Et nous aussi, on s'est appelé, on a échangé ensemble avec les membres de groupement et on a essayé, on a fait notre demande, aller déposer au niveau de l'environnement. Et c'est grâce de là-bas maintenant qu'on a eu le projet Banque mondiale et dizaines Burkina, passé par le PPF Burkina. Et quand on a eu ça, on est fiers et on se sent très content. Parce que pourquoi? Avant, on partait au moins de quelques kilomètres pour avoir l'eau pour venir faire notre transformation. On ne savait pas aussi des qualités de transformation. C'est grâce à la projet maintenant, on a eu beaucoup de choses, comment on appelle, beaucoup de formations qu'on a eu à savoir. On a su comment il faut traiter le lait frais pour faire sortir ailleurs, pour chercher des marketing. On a fait des formations sur marketing. On a fait des formations GAPAL, yaourt. Mais avant, on avait le lait, mais on ne sait pas qu'on pouvait l'utiliser pour faire une autre formation. Mais grâce à le projet, on a su ça. Et puis maintenant, grâce au projet, on a un terrain, un bâtiment construit, qu'on peut se mélanger chaque fin du mois, qu'on peut faire notre rencontre là-bas, échanger ensemble, donner des avis. Grâce à le projet aussi, les femmes peuvent tous travailler chaque semaine que les femmes montent, chacun descend, ils gagnent quelque chose pour arriver à la maison, ils puissent payer les scolarités de leurs enfants. Et dans ça aussi, on a pu protéger notre forêt. Parce que les femmes ont eu une formation sur les foyers améliorés. Et depuis que les femmes ont eu les projets, puis ils ont su comment faire les foyers améliorés et comment de ne plus détruire les forêts. Les femmes, même maintenant, quand ils partent au champ, ils voient quelqu'un en train de détruire les forêts, on peut dire à nos maris qu'il y a quelqu'un qui est en train de détruire les forêts. Parce qu'avant, quand vous venez là-bas, les 2 ans passés, et maintenant, quand vous venez, vous allez voir que le forêt que vous avez vu est devenu plus joli qu'avant. Mais c'est grâce au projet. Parce qu'on ne savait pas avant qu'il ne fallait pas détruire. Chacun se lève, il rentre dans le feu, il casse les bois comme il vient. Mais grâce à le projet, on a su que le forêt, on doit protéger notre forêt. Et avec notre projet aussi, notre mari aussi a su comment protéger les forêts. Parce que quand on parle à l'information, on nous dit qu'il ne faut pas faire ça dans les forêts, il faut protéger les forêts, il ne faut pas casser les bois au hasard. Quand on revient à la maison, on descend nos maris aussi pour les expliquer. Maintenant, on gagne beaucoup de lait. Grâce à le projet aussi, on fait beaucoup de transformations. On fait le beurre, on fait dedans, on fait yaourt, on fait gapa. On fait en même temps avec le carbone, on fait du savon naturel, qu'on peut le faire aussi vendre. Voilà, on peut bien maintenant utiliser notre lait frais pour le transformer beaucoup de choses. Mais c'est grâce à le projet. Donc, le projet nous a bien aidés. Et ça nous a bien aussi montré qu'est-ce qu'il ne faut pas faire au niveau de notre forêt. On a pu aussi, grâce à ce projet, on a pu protéger notre forêt aussi. Et on fait des sorties aussi pour dire à les pays voisins de ne plus détruire leurs forêts aussi, à cause de ça. En tout cas, vraiment, on vous remercie beaucoup. Les femmes sont fières et on vous demande toujours de faire le même à les pays voisins pour qu'elles puissent protéger notre forêt, que ce soit aussi étant, parce qu'on a 600 le forêt, il n'y a rien. Mais à cause de transformer, montrer les femmes comment faire les foyers améliorés pour protéger les forêts aussi. Pour protéger notre forêt. En tout cas, on est très fiers, on est très contents aussi d'avoir changé avec vous aujourd'hui, vraiment pour vous montrer comment on est content et comment on est développé. Vraiment, on est beaucoup développé. Avant, c'est chaque fin du mois qu'on pouvait se voir. Les membres de groupe. Même maintenant, chaque 3 jours, on se croise pour faire les transformations. Pour donner ailleurs, on peut maintenant partager à d'autres. Et il y a beaucoup de gens aussi qui viennent maintenant nous demander de venir les former, comment on fait yaourt, comment on fait gapal. Mais toujours, on compte sur vous. On compte sur vous encore de nous aider toujours pour qu'on puisse protéger notre forêt plus que ça. Parce que ça nous a bien rendu. Aujourd'hui, quand on passe autour de nous, on voit les forêts, les arbres sont bien, on est content de nous-mêmes. On est content. Vraiment, on vous remercie beaucoup. On est très content. Marine, on vous remercie beaucoup même. Les femmes aussi te remercient beaucoup. Et on compte sur toi toujours pour avoir protégé notre forêt toujours. Et améliorer nos capacités en tout cas toujours. Merci beaucoup.
Madame Diallo, merci beaucoup pour votre participation. Thank you so much, Madame Diallo, for sharing your experiences with the DGM in Burkina Faso. Just for everyone to remind you that Madame Diallo, Khadija, she is the president of Allah Valu Cooperative, which is a women-led cooperative. They have more than 16 women. They're based in Sapui village in Burkina Faso. And I would like to thank again, Madame Diallo, for actually making the time coming from Sapui village, which is 2 hours drive from the capital of Ouagadougou, where she is now, and joining us today to share her experiences. Your story is inspiring. I'm sure it's inspiring to all of the speakers here, but also to all the participants in the audience. Thank you so much. We really hope that we'll continue working together moving forward. And also, I'm looking forward to the Q&A questions and answers session where I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions to you that we can really respond and talk a little bit more later in the session. Thank you so much again, Madame Diallo. So next, let me switch to Ghana now. Now we're traveling to Ghana, DGM. So I would like to just slide 1 second. So let me introduce our next speaker. His name is Okiame. Okiame is coming from Ghana. He has excelled in the music. So Okiame is a musician and as well as the climate change activist. So he has excelled in the music industry, both in Ghana and abroad as well. He was part of the first Hip Life group to receive the Ghana Music Award. He has won Hip Hop Artist of the Year, Video of the Year, Songwriter of the Year twice. He was nominated across Africa for his music and he won some. Exceptionally interesting. Okiame also completed his NUST with a degree in linguistics and master's in degree in marketing strategy from the University of Ghana Business School. Okiame, before you start, I would like to give a little bit of sense of what you were doing with the DGM, how you are working with the DGM in the next video.
Okay, thank
Community people face several livelihood limitations due to climate change. To promote effective community action for climate change response, Solidaridad employs innovative approaches to gain community people's attention. Solidaridad has partnered with Ochiame Kwame, a popular Ghanaian musician, to serve as a climate change ambassador on the Ghana DGM project since its launch in early 2018. As an influential celebrity, Ochiame Kwame combines music with poetry to drive local community interest in climate change capacity building and advocacy.
Enam sa enyoma ya yeyan kasa ye yenti ede be ensunsuaso ena de aba yebotom
sanse ijahihie eye too much nti srade a ewa asase no mu no ni nyina san enti udua de na ama moa ene yare ene ha no baya nankasa
ya twadwe ya nyina ya hia ma nyisie no akoye tapodi onyankopon soro a sese nsuo no a ebeto ama onipadua no nya ahoto ama nnua no nya ahoto no saa kwanya no bi ni ho
enam se nsuo nto ne ntine ye ni ani da so nti ye da asase no kakra na essence aso no peke na kan nsuo no to ne bra no edo kakra bi benya bebre ama asase no kwaye no bi so akako
aho kire aba afa se wiemu sakraye nti ama ye manom adwane afa ye nti amene otie yi mma pa mienu wo mti nsuo so afidie no mu ntumi yɛsɛ pɛ ɛno ano no nneɛm ti nka sɛ nkura no ewu baa ɔtɔ so mmienu sese bini baabi a mekɔte a yɛsɛ wɔ Liberia ɔwɔ he ɛyɛ ahokyerɛ na ama aba saa beba no kɔ ɛbɛyɛ 10 years anaa 11 years ni sese so wɔte ase sɛ wawu so ayɛ dɛn enuanom a moahyia ha ne sese a me ne mo kasa mi nim me nte me ba no kora nka bi sa ahokyerɛ ma me bɛyɛ kɔwu ana sɛ wɔte ase a me nim ti ahokyerɛ no deɛ ɔde hawa brɛ wɔ ha paa.
Through his interactions, Ochiame Kwame advocates for a holistic and landscape-level support to address key climate change issues in local communities.
And so you just heard how climate change is impacting their lives. All they are saying is, let us find innovative ways of modern farming practices that are sustainable. So please, don't listen to these stories and look away because you are comfortable or because you live in a city. It is time for us to put our resources together to help the Ghanaian, the farmer, our mothers, our grandmothers, our fathers and our uncles who are doing everything possible for us to get food to eat. It is time to act.
Ochiame Kwame is doing his part by supporting capacity building efforts and advocacy on climate change. He invites you to throw your weight and resources behind a greater drive to attract funds to deliver climate-smart technologies to local communities.
What a great video, Akiame. Please, now we want you to join us today in the conference. And we are really interested to learn more about your experiences as the climate change activist / musician / being very famous, and your influence on on people in Ghana and beyond that, how you work with local communities through the DGM. And also, I think importantly, why is it important to raise awareness about climate change in agroforestry or natural resource management with local communities in Ghana? The floor is yours.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. And I'm really honored. I don't, when I saw the video, I almost teared up, because once you become popular, your popularity must not just be able to feed you and pay your children's school fees. The people around you who make you popular or who hold you up must benefit positively of your popularity. And I can't believe we did that. I miss it. I want to go back on the road and do it again. So I was asked to become a climate change ambassador through the World Bank and Solidaridad. And I remember that they told me we're going to 52 communities in parts of the northern region, in Brahafo region, and in the western region. That's like almost 1/3 of the whole of Ghana, almost half of the whole of Ghana. And I said, so are we going into the bushes? Because I live in Accra. Say yes, we are going into the remote parts of Ghana. And then I thought it was something really exciting. But when then we went on the field and we started engaging with people, especially the women, it was mixed feelings. I was really, it was an eye-opening, opportunity for me to see what people really go through and how deprived some people are of their amenities. And one of the things that really caught my eye was that when we started the campaign, sometimes what first Solidaridad got me to do a song. That song was the one that was in the background saying, let us pay attention to our land, let's pay attention to our trees, let's pay attention to our climate, so that it will also pay attention to us. And I didn't know the song had caught on so well. But when we went into the communities, the people were playing the music at the funerals, they were playing it at the churches. And whenever it was time for us to meet, that they would play the song in the community and everybody would come from their homes to come and sit down to listen to the field workers from Solidaridad, talk to them about climate smart practices. And that for me was a fulfilling moment. Because then I felt that, okay, my talent as a musician is actually doing something. And inside the song, the people got to learn how to sing the songs. And inside the song speaks about climate smart practices, about good farming practices. It speaks about, for example, the fact that once you are ready to till your farm, you don't have to burn the bushes, because once you burn the bushes, carbon dioxide goes up in the air, you burn the nutrients from the land. And the people sang the songs and internalized the lyrics in the song. And they told me that they had actually started practicing some of the things that we had said in the song. There were parts of the song that were serious, parts that were funny. For example, because people just want to eat bushmeat, rodents, they burn a whole farm. And then when it gets to that point, I could see that the people would laugh. So the song played on radio, the song in the communities, helps Solidaridad to galvanize people, to bring people out. And I remember sometimes after we've spoken to them about climate smart practices, they will ask that I do a song. So I'll play one of my popular songs, and then they will laugh, and then we'll take pictures, and we bring the pictures to social media, and then it will be an amazing moment for everybody. Another thing that I found very, very interesting and also very important to note was that the people had also experienced the adverse effects of the climate change on their lives. And so whenever we speak to them, we did a question and an answer time. Whenever we speak to them, they could tell us that their rivers are running dry. They could tell us that the rain patterns have stopped. They could tell us that there were long spells of non-rain or dry season. They could feel that the climate was changing. And because it was changing, it had affected their communities, it had affected their economies, it had affected their marriages, it had affected children going to school, it had affected everything, their health. They could feel it. But what they were a little oblivious to was the fact that they had contributed to it, either consciously or unconsciously. So once we speak about the farming practices and we bring their attention to all the little things that all of us do to contribute to adverse climate change effects, then they come along and then they are happy to change. They make a promise to change. And sometimes after these engagement or after these endeavors, we let them raise their hands and then they all make a pledge to change. And I remember that one time we went to part of the northern region when after we had spoken to them, we asked them what do they want? Whether do they want a borehole, a well, or reforestation. And then all of them voted unanimously for more trees in their community. That meant that they had really, really, really understood what they were doing. And the Solidaridad team, they were really on the ground. They used the local languages. They investigated the intricate cultures of the people, and they found ways of teasing out of them, not teaching them, but teasing out of them the knowledge that they had already. I also will want to bring attention to the fact that once the project was ending, my heart was broken because this was a real opportunity to meet real people going through real things. And I was hoping that it will continue until we can actually see the real change. So after we were done with everything, I came up with a strategy that I called Celebrities Unite Against Climate Change. Because I realized that if just me, I can have such an impact in 52 communities, then what will happen if we have 52 celebrities? Each one of them have 5 million followers on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and everything. Because I realized that the conversation about climate change is always kept at the stakeholder level. The level of the language doesn't really affect the people in the grassroots. But these people listen to our music, they watch our movies, and they see us to be role models. So I put together Celebrities Unite Against Climate Change. But before Solidaridad could help us get to the next level, then COVID came. So I have done a lot of work in the past to bring more celebrities together. What we hope to do is to capture them for 2 weeks or 2 months to let them see the realities of climate change activities. And then once we have them together, we have, say, about 20 top celebrities that the whole nation loves. What we hope to do is to move the conversation from not only the local communities, but to the districts, to the regions, and to have a national campaign that will bring positive change to the whole nation. Because just as you know, climate change activities are not only affected from places of farming or of these small communities. The cities also contribute to climate change activities. So I am thinking that why don't we have a campaign to bring the whole nation together to fight the adverse climate change activities? I'm going to plead with everybody that I know that we all mean it. We all really want the world to be a happy place. So what I am going to end with is that I want to say a very big thank you to the World Bank and Solidaridad for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this fight against climate change. And then I also want to say what our forefathers used to say in Ghana. We do not inherit the planet from our forefathers. We rent it from our unborn children. We do not inherit the planet from our forefathers. We rent it from our unborn children. So it is important that we leave it as it is or improve it if we can. So the responsibility is a shared one. Celebrities, development agents, World Bank, intellectuals, academia, it's our responsibility to come together. So from my small point, I want to galvanize celebrities in Ghana, about 20 of them, so that we can go to every single community and make 20 times the impact we made during the DGM. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kiame. I am not a celebrity, but I'm happy to join your campaign and support it as much as I can. I have also actually downloaded your album and I have listened to a few songs. I'm your Instagram follower too, so I'm really impressed by all the work that you are doing at the community level and awareness raising. So I'm not sure if you're still here. Maybe it will be from my side. It will be very nice if you could maybe sing a little bit to, like, I don't know, 30 minutes or 30 seconds, apologies, the song, the DGM song, if you don't mind. Okay, Ame, are you here? Okay, I think we lost you for a second, but it's okay. So we'll just continue with our session, and we can share with everyone the song, his album, and the DGM song as well in the chat box. So let me continue with the next speaker. The next one we have is Kapupu. Kapupu Diva Muti Manva. Kapupu is from DGM, DRC. Kapupu is the president of the League of Indigenous Pygmy Association of Congo, and he is also the DGM Global Steering Committee member. He is the leader of the Twa ethnic group and the president of the league. Kapupu is also a member of the DGM, and he's been part of the DGM since its beginning. So Kapupu, are you here? And if so, please unmute yourself and...
Allô?
Hello,
Allô?
Kapupu?
Allô?
Hello?
Oui, vous m'entendez?
Oui, oui. So Kapupu, if you could share your video and
Oui.
also share, and share with us. Oui, s'il vous plaît.
Vous m'entendez?
Oui, oui, Kapupu.
Oui.
Allons-y, s'il vous plaît.
Je ne sais pas les problèmes avec mon caméra. Je ne sais pas aujourd'hui c'est quoi. Hier c'était bien, mais Aujourd'hui, ça ne va pas, je ne sais pas pourquoi. Alors, est-ce que vous m'attendez?
Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your experience with the DGM and in DRC in particular through the challenging times during COVID, and how you're able to really work, and a little bit about the crisis management that you have experienced in DRC Congo?
Ok. Comme Marie m'a déjà présenté, moi, je suis Koupoua. Je suis parmi les pionniers des jeunes, les mécanismes des dons de Dieu et les autorités locales. Je suis, comme elle a dit, le président national des peuples autochtones de la République du Congo et le président du comité de pilotage des DGM. Ici, j'ai à dire notre expérience compte tenu des DGM, donc les projets appuyés aux communautés de plantes de la avait la ralenti des choses, mais malheureusement, on a déjà fait ce que nous appelons notre programmation 2020-2021. Et là, on a lancé les projets d'alphabétisation dans 10 territoires. Donc, pour apprendre le autochtone à lire et à écrire. Nous avons lancé plus de 9 projets, micro-projets, dans les territoires de Calais, dans le territoire de Walikale, dans le territoire de Kiri, dans le territoire de Oshwe et dans le territoire d'Inongo. Tout ça qu'on connaissait, la République démocratique du Congo, c'est le deuxième massif forestier du monde après le massif de.
Yes, I think we have some difficulties with in DRC and the problems with the connection. So apologies for that, but that's how the reality is. And I would like to propose that we move to the next speaker, and Kapupu, while Kapupu is figuring out his reception. And let's move to Johnson Cerda. Hi, Johnson. So let me quickly introduce Johnson Cerda. Johnson is the DGM Global Technical Director at Conservation International, and Conservation International is the executing agency for the World Bank and the DGM Global. So Johnson Cerda is a member of a Quechua community of the Ecuadorian Amazon. So he's worked with a lot of indigenous organizations in Ecuador and the Amazon since 1992. In 2000, he was nominated by indigenous organizations in the Amazon to serve as a co-director of the Amazon Alliance in Washington, D.C., where he has worked until 2005. So now he's working with the DGM Global at Conservation International. Johnson, if I missed something, please do mention it, but I'll give the floor to you. So if you could share with us a little bit about your work with the DGM Global and why it is important to engage and strengthen the leadership and capacity of indigenous peoples and local communities at the regional and global levels. Johnson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marine, for the invitation to speak in this event, and really happy to listen to the previous presentations, and unfortunately Kapu wasn't able to share his experience there, but really, really interesting. to respond to your question, I was wondering myself how to address your question about, how to, the importance of the participation of indigenous peoples, and I was thinking perhaps, the usual presentation it talks about the 80% of biodiversity is located in the indigenous peoples' lands. Really interesting issue. But let me start using an example in my own country, from my own community, just to start. In Limoncocha, where I'm from in the Amazon, my background is actually part of that in the Amazon. We were having a training session there, or it was a meeting with the community, because they had requests to share, issues related to climate change, what is going on outside in the discussion. So we went to a community in my village. So we were sharing with them, a screenshot of the map of the area. And then they said, but why it is green around our communities and it's not green out of the communities? And then we said that, well, you have palm oil there plantation, you have coffee plantation, you have all the plantations in there. And that's why you don't see green. It is only, plantations there. So in the community, we are surrounded by those activities around, and only in our area, 16,000 hectares, we have forests. We do have small agriculture, but we have mostly forests. And then in the next day, one of the elders says that, hey, I had a nightmare last night. My dream was like all those oil palm was coming closer to the community, and we were running out from the community, going to the nearest town in order to survive there, and we were poor and with a lot of disadvantage there, and also discrimination and all of that. So he put it like, the worst thing happening to the community if we let the expansion of the big agriculture or the plantation coming close to the community. So that was a interesting call of attention to the leaders in the community in order to do something. And then they said, one of the members said that, why if we don't go to the city, we can survive there. And he said, we're not gonna have our, traditional food. We are not gonna have, the resources that we have from the forest. And they put the list of things that they are getting from the forest. And then, everybody understood that the forest has, everything for the community, and we have to protect it and defend the land of the communities, and also work together in order to restore some areas that we are also working in other activities. So the lesson learned there is that, okay, we've been protecting the forests, we have the resources, we have the biodiversity, and we have dealing with all of stuff there. The second thing is that perhaps the special relation that we have as indigenous peoples with the forest, that is really important. In the work that we have been doing on climate change and all of that, when we talk about the carbon storage, and we said that, you can negotiate in order to have funding because of this forest contains a lot of carbon here, and they said, well, why we are talking about money with this tree when this is the house of some spirits in the forest that help us, that protect us or guide us, or in some cases are helping, in order to survive in the forest. So we have this special relation with the forest. So the understanding is completely different. It's not US dollars, it's not money, it's the relation that we have with them, with the birds, with the information we get from the forest in order in order to know what's going to happen in terms of forecasting and all of that. So that is the relation that we have with the forest. Even when we go for fishing, when we catch the small ones, we have a special name in the community in order to put it back, to release it. We are not taking the small ones to home because we need to keep it there. And we have a special way to say that. And for us, in order to, avoid to destroy things in the forest, we are not using the indicators, the Western indicators. We are using our own indicators because we have developed that in this special relation. So that brings me to another topic in terms of contribution and why it's important, the participation of indigenous peoples or the recognition of the indigenous leadership. In the communities we call it in general the traditional knowledge, right? Some people, they call it wisdoms and all of that. And in the climate change context, it's recognized as indigenous people's knowledge. And you can relate that knowledge, in several ways. For instance, for climate change, we have in the communities knowledge for adaptation, knowledge for mitigation, knowledge to address the issues of the medicine. For instance, now in the COVID time, we have seen a lot of support from the knowledge in the communities. In my community, I've seen in Mozambique, in the DGM context, they've been also producing some of the local medicines in order to enhance the defense of the body. So we have seen a lot of contribution from the communities, but those contributions have been just kept it there in the community and not promoted in order to help others also using that kind of medicine. So we have that kind of knowledge. In terms of food security, as I said in my example, we have in the forest in Netherlands, when they are, not affected by extractive industries, we have all the resources there, and food security is guaranteed for the community. One amazing thing I've seen in my international work is that in Africa there was an exercise done by this World Meteorological Organization and indigenous peoples knowledge in order to forecast the events coming in terms of weather, and they were actually precise, saying that this is what going to happen, and it was the same, using the modern technology and using that traditional knowledge. So, and they are combining in order to support the communities for agriculture, supporting communities in order to, continue their life. So that's how I see, indigenous peoples are contributing. And unfortunately, I don't want to address issues from the perspective of, what do you call that? I don't want to be dramatic that people are suffering. I don't know what you call that, but I want to say things from the contribution indigenous peoples are doing. Also, the governance system in the community. Sometimes we are experts to create or invent new ways of governance for certain areas where we are going to work with a project. But in the case of DGM, now talking about the DGM, I would say that in all the countries, what we have doing is enhancing or supporting the already existing organizations. If you see Peru, we are using we've been working with the organizations, or they are working with organizations, already existing organizations in the Amazon, from the community base to the national level, and they've been engaged with the DGM. If you go other countries, the same thing. You have, community-based organizations being part of the DGM and building the relationship with other communities based on that existing already governance. So that's how we been constructing, let's say, the project based on what already exists and not reinventing anything there. Just providing the capacity perhaps they need in order to achieve the goals in a faster way or better way, providing finance. For instance, a good example is in Peru. I like a lot this example. They've been for many years trying to get a land title, and it takes about 30 years or 20 to 30 years in order to get the title in the regular process in the country. But with DGM, now the communities themselves having the resources, the funding, they've been organizing everything and even helping the government to come to the communities and make the reports. So now they, between a year or 2 years, they are having their land titles. You know, the process has been really, really fast, just because the communities are now using the resources and using their own skills to support the government. So that is, you know, the demonstration that communities also have the skills to move things faster and achieve the goals that we are trying to achieve very, very, very rapidly, let's say. In the DGM also, the interest that we have heard from the leaders, because at the global level, we have a global steering committee coming from those, as I said, organizations from each country. So we have a global steering committee, and they have said, hey, the most important thing that we would like to highlight with the DGM or work with DGM is we want to know what is, you know, specific countries are doing. We want to learn from their experience. And for instance, in Indonesia and also in Peru, they're working on land titling. So they want to learn what they are doing in Peru, what are, you know, they are doing in Indonesia that could be useful for one or other in their work. So they've been exchanging information, and that's been really interesting, and see how, you know, they can help each other. In terms of sustainable forest management, I've seen a lot of interest, for instance, from Mozambique to learn the experience from Mexico, because in Mexico, they've been working with, you know, the sustainable forest management for a long time. They don't have concessions. They have their own community forest, and they are managing that, connecting with enterprises, enhancing the forest for carbon stock, you know, things like that. So Mozambique, they said, hey, we are really interested to know more about what they are doing. We want to learn from that DGM experience. So that's been like lesson learned that we have, and they are trying to connect each other and make you know, the program stronger and beneficial for everyone. We just heard about the climate smart agriculture just now climate smart activities in Ghana, and we've been there. We organized one of the Africa region exchange in Ghana, and we went to visit communities, and it was really amazing to see the cocoa plantation there, that in the initial experience that they had to clear the forest in order to have the, you know, the plantations, but now they are, you know, putting trees there. I remember that they said that they are putting like 18 trees in 1 hectare of the cocoa plantation in order to recover the forest. So then we were talking, you know, with colleagues from other regions about this. That is our practice in the communities. So sometimes the modern names are recovering the knowledge that we already have in the communities, but we've been losing because of the influence from, you know, the market, perhaps extractive companies, or perhaps the plantations. But if we recover the knowledge that we have in the communities, we are able to connect with the, you know, the global interests, and connect with these topics as climate smart cocoa, climate smart agriculture. We can connect that if we recover the knowledge that we have. So in many of the countries, of DGM countries, they are, let's say, producing a lot of examples, good examples that we can learn from in order to address the issues of gender equity in terms of sustainable forest management, climate smart activities, and land titling, as I said, and many, many, many others. Even, you know, the generation of climate the income generation projects that is providing some support to the families in communities. And we are working not only in forest areas, we are working also in very dry areas like the Cerrado in Brazil, where we learn a lot on what they are doing with land tenure, with medicines, with income generation, and the capacity also of the indigenous organization with local communities working together in order to address their own issues there. So this is perhaps finally, this is not an issue of only indigenous people, it's an issue with local communities because they are also working very closely with nature. And in this experience, we had a really interesting partnership together with local communities. Sometimes we've been saying that, no, this is only indigenous issue, but we live together in reality in the countries we are living together. And that's why in this experience, I think we have been providing capacity for both communities and enhancing the work we are doing for to address the climate issues, to address the interests of communities. And it's been a really exciting experience that we had with the DGM. I'm really happy looking, from the governance, the direct access to the finance that they are having, and how excited they are that they can make decisions to address the issues of their own communities, and then recovering the knowledge that we have in the communities to share with the other perhaps projects out there in the climate change context or biodiversity context. So that is what I wanted to share, Maureen. I don't know if it is helpful, but I think if we provide opportunities to communities, they will come to contribute strongly to the interests, the global interests on climate action or biodiversity. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you, Johnson, very much. Very interesting, and I'm very actually inspired by your own personal story. Coming from the indigenous community, but also working with the indigenous peoples and local communities, not just in Latin America, but across the world, organizing and participating in many knowledge sharing events. I did join you a few times as well, and it was a blast. I agree with you that community knowledge sharing, cross sharing, it's really important, especially from not just from one region to another, but really globally uniting and sharing knowledge, especially traditional knowledge that indigenous peoples and local communities hold these days. So I really hope we can continue engaging with indigenous peoples and local communities and trying to strengthen their capacity in knowledge, of course. So right now we are moving to the Q&A session. We have received interesting questions so far, but before doing it, I would like to introduce Garo Batmanyan. Prior to moving to the Q&A, because I really think that Garo can also share and respond to some of the questions that we received. Garo Batmanyan, he is the global lead for forest, landscapes, and biodiversity at the World Bank Group. He worked at the World Bank since for a long time, for more than 20 years, in Latin America and the Caribbean. He was a senior environmental specialist, coordinator for a pilot program for the Amazon rainforest funded by the G7. He has a lot of experience, is working as the CEO for the Worldwide Fund for Nature in Brazil. He was also the director of the WWF in the US. He has extensive experience in environmental management, forestry, carbon finance, and rural development areas. And he led the World Bank's analytic work in lending operations on environmental sustainability in Brazil and beyond. He also was based in China for the World Bank as the lead environmental specialist, China and Mongolia. He has a PhD in ecology from the University of Georgia, the US. A few remarks from my side. Garo Batmanyan is my personal mentor. He's my guide, and he's the go-to person whenever I need any help, support, either it's technical, programmatic, etc., etc. So Garo, welcome. I'm very happy you're here.
Enough of this. Thank you very much, Mary.
So yes,
you can see, but the picture is not the same anymore. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good evening. I don't have much to say except that I hope what you see today is that the process of DGM is giving the control to the communities. So when people ask the DGM what the DGM does, we say it depends. And people think that we are trying to dodge the question. But it depends on what the communities think are important. So we saw Diallo in Burkina and explaining how the dairy co-op was the issue and honey was the issue. So we have that. In Ghana is a different topic. You saw Johnson speaking about what's going on in South America. Again, different topic because there are problems of land tenure. So the DGM is the venue to empower the communities to decide what they need to do in order to have a livelihood and also help the forest. What I keep calling is the people and planet. This has to be something that is good for people and good for the planet. So we have to think about improving the livelihoods and of the people they are there, recognizing the rights of the people they are there, and also work with them when it's necessary to improve the quality of the practices they use or the management they use to be a little bit more safer, like in the case of the dairy, or also be more sustainable because populations grow, areas decrease that you manage and tends to lead to that. So I'm very pleased to see these different aspects. I would like to remind people that Africa, many countries in Africa have committed to restore 100 million hectares as part of the Africa 100 commitment to bone challenge and other challenges. We are starting the UN Decade of Restoration, and we cannot do that in the Sahel area or other areas of Africa if we don't work with the local communities who have access to the resource, are the ones in the rural areas and have to plant it and live off those resources. So I'm very thankful for Marine and all those that, and I love the videos, and I recently really like the music. I think we also, that is the other aspect of it. We have to try to reach out, not us, which are already into this, but have to find different venues or ways of reaching those that don't see this, and try to make it a paradox between conservation and natural resource management and livelihoods and local people and not local people. And I think what you saw today, I hope what you saw today shows what the DGM can do and the force that comes out of working with the communities and empowering the communities to do so. And we hope to continue to do that even in other programs as we go along. Thank you and good luck to everybody on this one.
Thank you, Garo. Very inspiring. So we have a few minutes to respond to some questions that we have received so far. So I'm going to read them out, and I would like to, for everyone in the session here today, from the speaker's perspective, to respond if you have anything to say. So I'll respond to some of them as well, because I think I can do that. Well, so the question number one is, what is the eligibility criteria for a DGM project? Apart from current pilot countries, is the mechanism open to other countries? So let me jump in and probably, respond to this one, as I think I can do that. So unfortunately, those countries that are not part of the DGM, they cannot receive financing support from the climate investment funds, and the World Bank is the implementing entity. So we receive money from the climate investment funds, and then we execute it from the World Bank side in each country. So we have 13 countries right now where we work in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, and the Caribbean. They're already pre-selected. And unfortunately, as of today, there is no other way to be part of the DGM. However, I don't want to discourage anyone. There are some other mechanisms that some other funds are considering, very similar to the DGM, that might be a possible solution. And I know a few funds, and even the World Bank, we are looking into this, and we're hoping to also find a way how we can engage with the indigenous peoples and local communities in a comprehensive way and expand the number of countries, not maybe through the DGM, maybe through other ways of doing it. So there will be opportunities, but it's just a matter of time. So the next question that I have here is it possible to monetize the reforestation program? If yes, how and what does it take to do? Great question. So I'll call in all the speakers here that feel like sharing or responding to this question. So maybe Garo, Johnson, Kapupu, Akiame, please go ahead. Johnson.
Yes, I can respond. I've seen one project in DGM in the area of Chetumal in Mexico. I went to visit there, and I went to the forest and I saw what they were doing there. I've been on climate change working for many years, but I wasn't, it wasn't clear to me about the carbon enhancement. I said, what is carbon enhancement? So when I went to Chetumal, the communities there, they told me that we are putting this tree and this one because this is commercial, this gives me medicine, and we are recovering this area because it was actually deforested there, and they were working on reforestation, but not clearing the whole area. They were using still, the I don't know what you call that, the remnants of it wasn't forest, it was something where they were reforesting. But the connection that they were doing was that, trees, commercial, also trees for medicinal purposes. So they were using that, connecting to the work they were doing in the area. So yeah, it's possible, but if they wanna connect with carbon itself, I think depend on the legislation in each country. In some countries, it like in my country, it belongs to, the environmental service belongs to the state, and they have to provide concessions and all that. In some countries, they can do it, but that is not directly related to the project, as I understand. They are just working on this, but perhaps later, or they can connect with other initiatives of they have in the country. But that is, the first-hand experience that I had in one of the countries. I can go if you want, but this is one example.
Thank you, Johnson. This is very, very helpful. And yes, indeed, we have, as Gara and Johnson mentioned earlier, all the countries in the DGM, and every country, DGM country, has a very different thematic area based on what they really need. So it's a community and led. It's really based on their needs and aspirations that we have. In Mexico was a great example here to how to monetize the reforestation program. I'm happy to share more information. We can share more in the chat. If Chloe or Debbie can post the DGM Global website there, so you can learn more. We have all the languages accessible in all the languages. So please go ahead and check it out. Highly recommended. So I have another question here. It's a little bit long. Probably Gara would be a very good person to respond. Financing innovation for drylands restoration is difficult to come by. How can the World Bank assist a rural development and waste energy solutions provider with innovative farming technology, which has good payback and payoffs to the communities?
I'll try to answer this one. The first thing is that we have to consider most of the money in the world is not on the development banks. Most of the money in the world is on the private sector. So the question is, can we make the private sector, can we make the country more attractive to private sector investment? So there are things that the World Bank and others can do because we work with the Ministry of Finance. The first thing is to say that maybe it's not everything that we need to do is new money. For instance, the world gives between countries in the world give between 600 and 700 billion with a B dollars a year on agricultural subsidies. At least 2/3 of them are not thinking of the consequences of it. So they end up giving agricultural subsidy to areas that are not very good on production, but make that subsidy competing with other types of land use, like the ones on this question. So by repurposing agricultural subsidies, for example, the public sector could use that repurpose in a landscape view in areas where agroforestry, community work, the tree planting, it is the best option. They will get that support instead of continue to have a sectorial view only on agriculture. So that in itself is repurposing existing money, not necessarily new money. Of course, we also have to deploy practices that allow more efficient work. We have to work with the financial sector because some of the terms of the way they are used to lend to production that is annual. So basically, you plant now, 6 months from now, you harvest, a year from now, you can pay. Now, if you plant trees, even if it's for coffee or cocoa or other plants like this, walnuts in Asia, you still have to go 5-6 years without having a harvest. So you have to change the rules with the governments and with the private sector to make this kind of financing more attractive. So we are thinking not only on how we make direct investment, like in our programs and our loans and pro-green other funds, but we're also looking at how we can work with the private sector and the government to make their policies more attractive and more conducive to sustainable development, and not necessarily just say, now you have to put all new money into this. Maybe it's repurposing money you already have, maybe changing some of the rules you already have to make investment in communities and community management more of a common activity and something that they will recognize as something that generates jobs and is good for people and good for planet. I'll stop it here.
Thank you, Garo. Greatly appreciated. So we have only 9 minutes left, unfortunately, but I would like to call on any speakers that we had today to share their last words of expertise, of experience, of wisdom, or anything that they have forgotten to share with us today. So please, Senu, Okiame, Kapupu, Johnson, Garo, anyone, if you have anything to share before we close the session today, go ahead. And if not, it's okay as well. So I will just, I would just close the session right now. Personally, I really enjoyed the conversations that we had today. All the speakers, you're so inspiring. I'm just beyond any words. I've been working on this at the bank and on this program for nearly 7 years. Whenever I always talk about it, I share it with colleagues and people. I'm so proud to work on the DGM and at the bank with all the communities, with all the stakeholders that we have here. I would like to thank at the end, well, right now it's the end. I would like to thank the nearly 200 attendees that we had today at the session from some countries, including Benin, Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Kenya, Nigeria. Thank you all for joining us today. We really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. So to close the session, I would like to call Okiame, if he's here, or maybe he's not. No, okay, he's left already. Yeah, Okiame is left, no problem. So I'm just gonna close the session today. So if you have any questions, any comments, you can visit our website. I think Chloe or Debbie, they posted the link there. You can always contact us directly at the bank. You can contact any of the DGM countries and the executing agencies for any questions that you have. It's been an exciting session, and I hope we can have more conversations about the importance of engaging local communities, and especially indigenous peoples and local communities in Africa and in other regions, because it's the most important, one of the most important components to preserve the environment and to continue sustainable development. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good day.